Hello, welcome to How to Shade with Markers. I'm just going to show you some basic steps on how to use Prismacolors. The first thing you're going to do is set up your markers from lightest to darkest and just start shading in a basic shape like a sphere with your lightest tone marker. This is a 10% cool gray marker, and I'm just kind of going in and filling in all the areas, trying to fill in all the gaps and just do some nice smooth shading. The next step is just to go to the next marker in your lineup. I think this is a 20% cool gray, and just kind of make that nice little crescent shape around the edges of the sphere, kind of filling in the gaps, just relaxing and enjoying using the marker. These markers tend to kind of fill in the spaces pretty easily, and you can basically do this with any markers like Crayola, even Sharpies, but Prismas tend to work a little better because they are alcohol based, so the colors will kind of bleed and blend together. So right here what I'm doing is I'm starting to take the previous marker and just kind of blend in, taking that 10% and going back over top of areas and blending that 10 and 20% together. Now I've added the next stage of marker, which this is probably like a 30%. I'm really not sure. I usually try to line all my markers up right there by the piece of paper, but sometimes I do get a little confused while working. But you can see I'm continuing the crescent, blending the colors together, taking that crescent all the way up to the top edge and just trying to smooth things out. But I am working relatively quickly. This is just an exercise. I do this a lot of times in my classroom with my students. And there's already some mistakes, but it's all right. It's just all about having fun and just kind of playing around. I recommend doing this a lot if you have time. So it looks like now I've got probably like a 50 or 60% cool gray, and I've made that crescent a lot smaller, just kind of creeping around the edges of the sphere. Really don't need a lot of it, and now what's happening is I've gone back down to like a 30 or 40%, and I'm going back over top of the 60% just to kind of smooth out the areas and pick up a little bit of that ink from the 60% and spread it around. You got to spread the love, spread that ink around, fill in the gaps and spaces. And if you'd like, you can add a little cast shadow in. Maybe even come back into that middle area now that I look at it, and maybe add a little more of that 10% to kind of fill in, because that white glaring area in the middle is probably a little too big, but it's all right. It worked out pretty well. And really that's it, just to keep practicing blending with the markers. I recommend doing color scales. That works really well too. Well, thanks, and practice drawing.